Welcome to Mwalimu Ogeke YouTube channel. This is March 2022 Kcse Predictor Series 1 Paper 1 Mathematics Paper 1. I have just done prediction for section A first. I'll do that is for section B in another day. Follow this tutorial up to the end so that you be able to see the predictions that I've made and also be able to follow such questions and do related questions in preparation for the Kcse 2021 candidates that will be done in March 2022. Question number 1, I have predicted on fractions. That is without using a calculator, evaluate. Now we have 3 1/3 plus 1 over 9 divided by 1 1/3. Remember the question here without using a calculator. So if you use a calculator and get this answer to be like this is, remember I've done just 3 times 3, it is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10, so it is 10 over 3. Plus 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10, it is 10 over 9. Then divided by, this is 3 plus 1, which is 4 over 5. That is, I'm making them improper fraction. Then all over, so I've made this one, 9 times 4 is 36, 36 plus 2 is 38, 38 over 9, minus, this is 18 plus 5 is 23 over 9, then times 2 over 3. So that is under this bracket. And therefore, remember this one you can get now, this is, you add these two, you get it to be 40 over 9. So if you use the calculator direct and get 40 over 9, then times 3 over 4, without showing what I've done here. Remember I've shown here, whereby I've shown this, the LCM between the two is 9, then 3 comes to 9, 3 comes to 9, 3 times, then 3 times 10 is 30, plus 9 comes to 9 1 times 10 is 10, so this gives you 40 over 9, which I've done here 40 over 9 times 3 over 4 because there is a division, so you do the reciprocal of it, so times 3 over 4, all over, you also do for numerator here, the LCM is 9, so being 9, 9 comes to 9 1 time, so it is 38 minus 23, so that gives you 15 over 9, then times 2 over 3. That is what I've done here. So that I cancel here 3 ones, 3 times. Then we also have 3 times. And then this was 40. 4 ones, 4 here is 10. So we shall be having 10 over 3. So we have 10 over 3. All over 3 ones, 3 5. So 5 times 2 is 10 over 9. All over 10 over 9. So it's like 10 over 3 times 9 over 10, which gives you 3. So that is the answer. Remember, if you just brought here, that is 40 over 9 or 10 over 3 direct, you shall have used the calculator. So you must show that you have not used the calculator. Then question number 2 is that use mathematical table to find the square of 86.46. So if you find using a calculator, remember I've been told to use a mathematical table. So if you come in your answer and give a square as 74.75 direct, without showing the procedure, you have not used the calculator, because for a calculator, I must see that you have written this. Remember the square table has from 1 to 9, and therefore there is no 86, and therefore you must write this in standard form. I must see that you have written it in standard form. That is 8.64, 6 times 10 raised to power 1, because you move one step to the left, raised to power 1, and then you square it. Meaning that we can square this part separately and this part separately if you open the bracket. And therefore we shall have 8.646 squared times 10 also squared. Therefore we look this from the table. From the table you go to 8.6 on the square table. You go on 8.6 on this column 4. 8.6, then you look at column 4, you will find 74.65. And then you look at the addition column, look at column 6, you'll find it is 10. That is, it is 10. And therefore, it would be plus 0.10. You add that, you'll get 57, that is 74.75, then times 10 raised to power 2, which means power 2, you move to the right 2 steps. If you move 1, 2, it will be 74, 75. So that is how you find the square of 86.46, that is the square. Now we find the reciprocal of 27.56. 27.56, the square, the reciprocal. On the reciprocal table, so you must use a reciprocal. You cannot use a calculator. So ensure that you go to the table. So you'll have 1 divided by 27.56. That is what it means by reciprocal. Reciprocal is 1 over that number. So 1 over 27.56. That means, remember, reciprocal we also have from 1 to 9, and therefore 27 you cannot find it. You have to write it in standard form. So it will be 1 over 2.756 times 10 power 1. So the reciprocal of power 1 is the opposite, is power 10 power negative 1. So the reciprocal of this is 10 power negative 1. So it will be 10 power negative 1 times the reciprocal of this one, 1 over 2.756. So on the table of reciprocals, check on 2.7, then on column 5, 2.7 on column 5, you get 0.3636. And then you go on the subtraction. Remember, on this case, that's reciprocals, we have the subtraction side. You go on the subtraction side, you look at column 6, you will find 8. So 8, we write it as 0.0008, and then we subtract. If we subtract, we get this 16. 16 minus 8 gives you 8, and we made with 2 gives you 28. So we should have 0.3628. Then times 10 power negative 1, or times 1 over 10, times 1 over 10, and that gives you, you move 1 step behind, so it will give, if you move 1 step behind, it will be 0.03628, 0.03628, 0.03628 as the reciprocal. So if you have the reciprocal, the question is hence, the question is asking that hence or otherwise calculate the value. So if you are asking about hence, that means you must use the values from above. So we have got the square of this. We have also got the square root of this. So for us to evaluate this, it is that square of this that we got times the reciprocal that we got direct. That is 74.75 times 0.03628. If you multiply, you get 271.192. So to 1 decimal place, because the question was to 1 decimal place. Was it to 1 decimal place? No, it wasn't. So even if you left at this point, you are correct, or you write 1 decimal place as that, then you are also correct. But it's good you leave it at this point if you are not told. And when decimal places, you leave it at that point. So the next question, number 3, the question is saying that the sum of the interior angle of an n-sided polygon is 1440. Find the value of n and hence reduce the name of the polygon. So if you are told that the sum of interior angle, remember the formula for a sum of interior angle is 2n minus 4 into 90, which when you open the bracket, it gives you 180n minus 360. So meaning that the sum, the whole sum, which is 1440, equals to 180n minus 360. Like terms together, we bring this will be addition. So it will be 1440 plus 360 equals to 180n. So we divide by, if you add these two, gives you 1800 equals to 180n. We divide by 180 on both sides. This cancels, we remain with n here. It will be 10. N is 10, and a 10-sided figure is what we call a decagon. We call it a decagon. We call it a decagon. We call it a decagon. Question number 4. Solve for x and y in the equation. So the equation is 2 power 5y plus 1 times 5 power 2x plus 2 equals to 1250. Remember, here is 2 power of that, and this is 5 power of this, so there is no common base. And here, we can only express this in bases of 2 and 5. And therefore, 1250, remember 5 power 4 gives you 625, and the 2 power 1. So that means if 6 power 4 times 2 power 1, or just times 2, it gives you 1250. So that means this is 5 power 4. You express this in terms of bases of 5 and 2, bases of 5 and 2. You express this in bases of 5 and 2. So if you express this in bases of 5 and 2, it will be 5 power 4 times 2 power 1. 2 is the same as 2 power 1. N number is 2 power 1 is that number. So after doing that, then we equalize the one with the same base. So we will equalize 2 power 5y plus 1 to 2 power 1. 2 power 5y plus 1 is equal to 2 power 1. Therefore, if the bases are the same, the powers are the same. And therefore, 5y plus 1 equals to 1. 5y plus 1 equals to 1. So we take this the other side, it will be 5y equals to 0, and therefore y equals to 0. So if y you have it as 0, you also have this other side, that is 5 into power of 2x plus 2 equals to 5 into 4. So bases are the same and the powers therefore are the same, and therefore 2x plus 2 equals to 4. 2x plus 2 equals to 4. And therefore, if you take it to the other side, we shall remain with 2x equals to 4 minus 2. So 2x equals to 2, and therefore we divide by 2 all through, we get x to be equal to 1. And therefore, the value of x in this question is 1, and that of y is 0. So you get your mark there for the answers, and your mark for this, for expressing this, and the mark for also expressing this other one. This and this one gives you that, expressing this and that gives you 1 mark. So we go to the next question. That's a question on inequality. That is the region R in the figure below is defined by the inequalities L1, L2, L3. So this is our L1, the line 1 is here. This is our L2, and this is line L1. So our region is here. So we are asking that find the 3 inequalities. First of all, there is a common L3, we can easily tell. L3, remember, it is this our 0, and therefore it's where the values of x are greater than 0. And therefore it is x is greater, because I have explained here that this is a block line, a straight line without dashes. So we call it a block line. For a block line, it means it's either greater and equal to or less and equal to. But for a broken line like this one with dashes, it is either less or greater. It is either less or greater. That is what it means. And this one means because that means that value is inclusive. And therefore, when it is block, it means that it's greater or equal to or less or equal to. And therefore, when we go to our question here, when we move to our equation, here is that for this one, it was supposed to be, because this is a straight line, it is a block line, the values of x are here, and therefore it is, the region is on x is greater or equal to 0. Greater or equal to 0. So that is one inequality, that is for L3. L3 is direct, that one has no reason to worry, because you just copy it, is x is greater or equal to 0. Now for L2, we go to L2 first, or L1. Let's deal with L1 first. L1 is here. So you need to note on the line, see where we have direct point. We have a direct point here, so we can use this point. That is because this one you can identify. This point, if this is 2, this is 1. So this point is 1, and this is 2.5. But if you are dealing with 2.5 points, I don't like them. And that's why I had to look for a point where I'm not struggling, like this one. This point is x is 0. The value of x is 0. At this point, the value of x is 0. And the value of y here is 3, so 0, 3. And I also have a point here that I'm not struggling, because for this one I will have, even this one is okay. You can use this point here, which is 4, 1. 4, 1 can be used. This one can also be used. But this one is very accurate. We are very sure it is 6, 0. So we can use this one 6, 0 and 0, 3. But even if you use these other points that are accurate, like this one, this 5, but this 0.5, but you can use this one 4 and 1 is okay. The points you are very sure the point of intersection, and you can be able to see them, like the ones you can use them. So find the gradient of this line. If you have this point 6, 0 and this point. So if I start from this point, I'll say it is 0 minus 3 or over 6 minus 0. 0 minus 3 over 6 minus 0, this gives you negative 3 over 6. So negative 3 over 6 is the same as negative 1 over 2. So that is the gradient of our line L1. So after finding the gradient of our L1, we find the equation of this L1. the equation we equate this one negative 1 over 2, so we say negative 1 over 2 equals to, we take another point on this line to be elsewhere here and call that point xy. So we will say that now remember it's changing y over changing x to get the gradient, and therefore the gradient from using another point to get the same gradient, if I use another point xy to get the same gradient, another point xy which is on this line, and I have picked this point. If I pick this, even if you pick this point, you will be correct. You will get the same answer like me. So you can pick this point and another point xy. So I've picked this point, another point xy, and use the same gradient, which is negative 1 over 2, equals to that point y minus 0, because the value of y here is 0, all over x minus 6. So we cross multiply, it will be 2 into y minus 0, it will give you 2y equals to negative 1 into x minus 6. Negative 1 times x gives you negative x, then negative 1 times negative 6 gives you plus 6. So 2y equals to negative x plus 6. And therefore, if we divide by 2 or through, we get y equal to negative half x plus 3, because 6 divided by 2 is 3. So negative half x plus 3, that is the equation of this line, the equation of this line L1. And therefore, we need to pick a point, one point on the region. On this region, we pick one point. If I pick a point here, I've picked 1, 2. A point here, remember this is x, the value of x is 1, because this is 2, this is 0, and therefore this is 1. I've picked a point 1, 2 here to use as test point. So test point 1, 2. So where in the equation, where I have y I place 2, and where I have x I place 1. So it will mean 2 equals to, that is negative half times x, which is 1, it gives you negative half. So negative half plus 3, it will give you negative half plus 3 gives you 2.5 positive. So 2.5 and 2, you realize that 2 is less than 2.5. If 2 is less than 2.5, you look now at the line, the kind of line you have. It's not broken. If it was broken, then we could have replaced with just a less in the equation. But in this case, it is continuous. And if it's continuous line, you replace with less or equal to. So I'll go to my equation here and write y instead of an equal sign. Now I put y is less or equal to that equation. So it will be y is less or equal to the equation, which is negative half x plus 3. So you do the same for L2. You pick 2 points that you can use to find the gradient. Like I've tried to look at points that are direct, like this one. This one, I am using this line. So at this point, we have 2, 0. It is direct. But if you look here, this point can give you struggle and stress. It is not, because this is 0.5, and I don't like dealing with the points when I have all numbers unless I have no option. And then I have here, I have no point. This one, I'll be having a point that I cannot even estimate. So you look at a point like this one, it is 2, 0. There is no point. You look for another one. If you go ahead in this same line, you are trying to look for a point that has no points, that is straight, that is like this one. You come here, it is not on this point, so you still go here, it is cannot give you, but you go here, you realize it's exactly at 0. The value of x here is 0, and the value of y is negative 2, so I can use this one and this one. So if I use this one and this one, I start from, if I start from here, I'll say this gradient is, we start from here, or I start from here. If I start from here, it will be 0 minus 2. So it is the same as 0 plus 2. Or even if I started from this point to that, I maintain it, I'll still get the same gradient. So if I start from here, it is 0 minus 2, it will be positive 2. So positive 2 all over, I started from here, 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 over 2 is 1. But even if I start from here, I still get the same answer. Negative 2 minus 0 all over is negative 2. All over 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So it's negative 2 all over negative 2 still gives you 1. So you still get a gradient of 1. So if you get a gradient of 1, you have 1 over 1 equals to another point pick another point xy and use another point. You can use this point or this one. I've decided to use this. So it will be y minus 0 all over x minus 2. Y minus 0 all over x minus 2 equals to 1 over 1. You cross multiply, it will be y equals to x minus 2. Y equals to x minus 2. That is the equation. So I use the same test point 1, 2. I use the same test point 1, 2. I place 2 here and I place 1 here. So if I place 2 here, it will be 2 equals to 1 minus 2. It gives you negative 1. 1 minus 2, it gives you negative 1. So 2 equals to negative 1. And you realize that in this case, 2 is greater than negative 1. 2 is greater than negative 1. And therefore, you replace in the equation with greater, and then you look at the line. The line is continuous. So it will be y is greater or equal to x minus 2. Simple. So that is the simplest way of doing inequalities. So if you are given a graph and you are asked to deduce the inequalities, that is the way to do. That's the way to do. You first of all find the gradient, you find the equation, you have a test point at the center. At endpoint, you pick endpoint. I could have picked even this one because it's possible. This point is 1, it could have been 1, 1. So even if you pick 1, 1 and use as the test point, still you can get the same answer. So that is how you do when you are given a graph of inequalities and you're asked to deduce the inequalities. Question number 6 is that two boys and a girl shared some money. The elder boy got 4 over 9 of it. The younger got 2 over 5 of the remainder. And the girl got the rest. Find the percentage share of the younger boy to the girl's share. So we let the amount to be x. And therefore the older boy got 4 over 9 of x. And the younger boy got, remember, he got 2 over 5 of the remainder. The remainder was, remember the whole thing is 9. The whole thing is 9. So it is 9 minus 4 is 5. So I got 2 over 5, that is 2 over 5 of the remainder. 2 over 5 of, so 2 over 5x times 5, 2 over 5 times 5 over 9x. So that gives you 2 over 9x. That is what the boy got. And the girl got the remainder. So what remained is x minus this plus this. So it is x minus, you add the 2. So it is x minus 6 over 9, which is 3 over 9, and that is the same as a third x. So that is what the girl got. The girl got a third x. So there is a mark for the finding for the boy what he got and for what the girl got. Then from there, you are asked to find the percentage share of the younger boy to the girl's share. So the ratio is 2 over 9x into a third x. 2 over 9x or over a third x. X and x will cancel. We shall remain with 2 over 9 times 100. We shall remain with 2 over 9 times 3 over 1 times 100. That gives you 66.67%. So that is the percentage share of the younger boy and the girl. Then we are asking another question, is that the figure below is a velocity time graph for a car. It is not drawn to scale. And therefore you are asked to find the total distance traveled by the car. Total distance is equivalent to the area under the graph. So that is the area of the trapezium. Area of the trapezium, we know it is a half into brackets a plus b times h. So that is a half into a. Our a is this 24 plus b is from here to here, which is 24. 20 minus 4 is 16. That is a half into 24 plus 16. Then times the height from here to here, which is 80. So we multiply, we get a half times, this is 40 times 80, that gives you 20, because this gives you 20 times 80, which is 1,600 meters. So that is how you get your 2 marks without much struggle. Then you are asking the next question is that we can get the deceleration. Deceleration of this body is from here to here. So it is the final velocity, which is 0. Remember, it's decelerating, so it went to 0. It is 0 minus 80. Or over the time taken. The time taken between here is 4 seconds. So it is 80 over 4, which gives you 20 meters per second. That is the deceleration per second square. Acceleration, it is per second square. That is the SI unit. Then the next question is that 2 containers have base area of 750 centimeters square and 120 centimeters square respectively. Calculate the volume of the larger container in liters, given that the volume of the smaller container is 400 centimeters square. So in this case, what we do first is to find the area scale factor, because we are given the area of the larger and the area of the smaller. So 750 over 120, which gives you this 0 and the 0 cancels. 3 comes here 4 times, 3 comes here 25. So we shall have 25 over 4 as our area scale factor. So if you have the area scale factor, we can easily find the linear scale factor, because we are interested to find the volume scale factor so that we equate with the volume of the smaller. So to get the volume scale factor, we need first of all to get the linear scale factor from the area scale factor. So linear scale factor is equal to square root of area scale factor, which is equal to square root of 25 over 4. That gives you 5 over 2. 5 over 2, that's the square root. So our linear scale factor is 5 over 2. And to get the volume scale factor is linear scale factor cubed, which is equal to 5 over 2 cubed, and that gives you 125 over 8. And that means that if we let the volume of the larger, to be V, so that means 125 over 8 equals to volume of the larger out of volume of the smaller, which is 400. So we cross multiply, it means 8V is equals to 125 times 400, meaning that to get V is 125 times 400 divided by 8. So that gives me 50,000 divided by 8, that gives me volume to be 6,250. But we know that 1 liter, because we are asking to find the volume of the larger container in liters. So you must reread the instruction to see what the question is asking. In liters. So for us to get in liters, we know that 1 liter is 1,000 centimeters cubed. What about 650 centimeters cubed? It is 650 centimeters cubed divided by 1,000. That gives you 6.25 liters. 6.25 liters. So that is the volume of the larger container. The next question is that given that the column vector A is -1, 4, B -2, -3, -2, C -1, -1, and that P is 2A minus 4B plus 3C, express P as a column vector. To get P as a column vector, remember P equals to now 2, you replace A with this one. So it is 2, -1, 4 minus 4 into -3, 2 plus 3 into -2, -1, that's our C. So we open the bracket, it will be -2, 8. This is -2, 8 minus, this gives you 4 and this gives you -12 and -8 plus negative, that is -6. -6, -3. So if you get that, next thing is that we need to now evaluate. So we shall be having, we open these brackets, we shall be having -2 minus minus becomes plus. -2 plus 12, it is -2 plus 12. Then plus minus is minus, so it's -6, and this is 8 minus, it becomes plus 8. Then -3, that is -2 plus 12 minus 6, and 8 plus 8 minus 3. So this is 10 minus 6 is 4, and this 16 minus 3 is 13. So that is the column vector. It's a symbol as that, column vector. And the next question is that simplify the following expression by reducing it to a single fraction. We simplify by reducing this to a single fraction. So what we do, we find the LCM of the whole thing. 4, 2, and 3, where it is 12. 3 comes here 12 4 times. So we shall be having 4 into brackets this, 4 into brackets that number. Then minus, as 2 comes to 12 6 times. So it is 6 into all of this. 6 into 3 minus 2. Then minus, because these are minus, so minus. 4 goes to 12 3 times, 3 into 1 minus x. So we open the bracket there, we shall be having 8x minus 12, 8x minus 12, then minus 6x. Because of this minus and this becomes plus 12, then minus 3, it is minus 3, and this minus and this becomes positive, so plus 3x all over 12. So like terms together, this 8x minus 6x, it gives you 2x. So if you get 2x then plus 3x, it gives you 5x. 5x minus, we now do for the number, we shall be having negative 12 plus 12 is 0. So if we have 0, so it would be minus 3. So minus 3 over 12, that is the simplified form of that question. We go to the next question, that is question number 11. Question number 11 is that 30 men working at a rate of 10 hours a day can complete a job in 14 days. Find how long it will take 40 men working at the rate of 7 hours a day to complete the same job. So what to do is just write men hours day. So 30 takes 10 and 14 days, 47, and then the days is x. So we need to find this x. So what to do, assume this is not there, just place this, assume it is not existing. Or first of all, assume this is not there. So ask yourself, 30, if that man is 14 days, if that man is 14 days, what about 40? If that man is 14 days, 40, will it be more or less? Remember that men are working for 14 days, leave around the hours. That men are working for 14 days. 40 will work for more or less. Obvious, 40 men, because they are more, they will take less days. So if they are taking less days, it is less over more. So it is 30 over 40. Then times, we assume this is not existing. Then we ask about hours. If 10 hours, if people are working for 10 hours, we don't know how many they are, but they are 10, they are working for 10 hours, they are taking 14 days. So if they work for 7 hours, if they work for 7 hours, it is automatically they will take more days. So it is more or less, which is 10 over 7. Then times the 14, so that you get, if you manipulate all this, you get 15 days. So that is how we reason this question. This question, that is how we reason. When you see such a question, that is the same way you reason. If you reason another way, like people say, like 30 times 10 times 14 or 40 times 7, yes, for this one it will work, but some other question, they don't work. So that one does not always work that way. If you just multiply that straight out of this, it is not always the case. We go to the next question. A car uses 1 liter of petrol for every 8 kilometers. The car was to travel 480 kilometers and had 15 liters of petrol at the beginning of the journey. It was to go 480 kilometers. At the beginning of the journey, it had 15 liters. And it is using 1 liter for every 80 kilometers. So, first of all, we know that 1 liter is 8 kilometers. What about 480 kilometers? How many liters will it take? It is 480 divided by 4. The total liters to be used is 480 divided by 8, which is 60 liters. But we know that the car had 15 liters at the beginning of the journey. So extra petrol that was needed, it is 60 minus 15, which is 45 liters. So the question is that each liter is costing 112 shillings. How much did it cost for extra petrol added? The extra petrol was to cost 45, that is the number of liters that was extra, then times 112, which is 5,040 shillings. So that is how simple that question was. The next question is that we find the greatest common divisor of this and this, the GCD. Now for the greatest common divisor, you look for a common factor with the common factor that is less. That is, if we go to a common factor between this and this, we'll see 9, the number is not common, but if we go for x, there is a common. X cubed and x, the common is, x is common, but x is here and x is also here. So the list is x, which is common. So we pick x. That is why we call it common divisor. So x is common. So we pick x because x can divide here. X can divide here. So we pick x. We go for a y is here and y is here. So we pick for the last one, which is common, because y squared can come here. So we pick y squared. That is, you pick the smaller. That which is common, you pick the smaller. That's the GCD. So it will be x. It is only the one that is common, and you pick the smaller. Like x cubed and x, you pick x. Y squared and y cubed, you pick, y power 4, you pick y squared, because it's the smallest. So the GCD is x, y squared. Hence, when you hear the term hence, factorize complete the expression this. So that means we want us to use this one, so we bring that one, we factorize on this. If we factorize on this, like I have done, x can cancel here and remain with x squared. Remember it has cancelled, and the y squared can cancel out, so we shall remain with 9x squared minus x and x cancels, y will come here to y squared, but the 4 had no factor, so it is minus 4y squared. Remember, after you have done that, you realize that this is a difference of 2 squares, because this has a square root, and this has a square root, this has a square root, and this has a square root, and there is a minus. So that's the difference of 2 squares. And therefore, this is the square root of this is 3, and the square root of this is x, and the square root of this is 2, and this is y. And therefore, this will be 3x plus 2y into brackets 3x minus 2y. That one you have done several times. That's a squared minus b squared is equals to a into a plus b into a minus b. And therefore, now the factorized expression is this x y squared into 3x minus 2y. This one becomes this. So it is this is the simplified expression. We go to the next question. That's question number 14. The question is talking about a rectangular block is 50 centimeters long and 15 centimeters wide. If its mass is 18 kg and its density equals to 2.4 grams, find its height. So the first thing we do, we know that the density is equals to mass over volume. But, and the volume, of course, if we need that, we say volume is equals to mass over density. But we are told the volume, so if we use kg, the height we don't know, that's what we are finding. We have 50 and this 15. So the mass, because here is in grams, we change this mass to be in grams, so times 1,000. So 2.4, which is the density, equals to mass, which is 18 times 1,000, or 15 times 50 times h. So if you multiply this, gives you 18,000, and this gives you as 15 times 50 times h, this gives you 7,500 h. So we take this and this, we bring 2.5, so that we have 7,500 h is equals to 18,000 over 2.4. So that we divide by, this gives you 7,500. If you divide this using your calculator, you get 7,500. So 7,500 h is equals to 7,500. We divide by 7,500 both sides, we get h to be 1 centimeter. That is, our height is 1 centimeter. You are done with that question. You go to the next question, number 15. The question is that use prime factor of 1764 and 2744 to evaluate. So first of all, we write the prime factors of 1764. We get it as 2 squared times 3 squared times 7 squared. We also find the prime factors of 2744. I must see this one, or using a 3 diagram, whichever you want to use. So you need to get this as 2 cubed times 7 cubed. 2 cubed times 7 cubed. So if we have the 2, so that means this one equals to this. This one equals to whatever you have in square root, or over whatever you have here in cube root. So remember, it's cube root, the factors of 2. So in each 2, you pick, this is 2 squared, there are 2 groups of 2. Remember, this is like power of a half. So if it's power of a half, if you multiply, you open that bracket with power of a half, you multiply here by using indices. So 2 power half will remain 2. 2 power 2 times a half. 2 times a half is 1. So it will remain with 2 power 1, which is the same as 2 times 3 times 7. And this cube root, remember, it is power third. So a third times 2 is 1. So it's 2 power 1 is 2. So we shall remain with 2 times 7. 2 will cancel. 7 will cancel. We will remain with 3. So 3 becomes the answer. So that is simple as that. That's what you do. The figure below shows, that is the last question in section A. The figure below shows a circle, center O, and radius 6 cm. Sector OAB subtends, and you're told that sector OAB subtends an angle of 100 degrees at the center of the circle shown. So we are asked to calculate to 2 decimal places the area of the shaded region. The area of the shaded region, this is a segment. There is a formula I had given in my previous tutorials that area of a segment because the other method is to find the area of the triangle, you find the area of the sector, you subtract the 2 to find the area of the shaded. But the simplest way is just to use a formula. The tail of a segment is r squared over 2 into brackets theta times pi over 180 minus sine theta. So if you use this one, it is r is 6 squared gives you 36 over 2 into brackets 100, that is theta is 100 times pi, which is 22 over 7, or over 180 minus the sine of 100. So we shall be having 18, because this gives you 18, into this one gives you, you divide by 180, it gives you 1.746031, then minus sine of 100 is 0.9848. So when you open, it will be 18 times, you subtract this, gives you 0.761231, so you multiply 18 times that gives you 13.702158. Now to 2 decimal place, it is, you move 1, 2, it will be 13.70 centimeters square. 13.70 centimeters square. So that is the simplest way to do it, because even if you use the other method, you get the same answer. Thank you for listening to my tutorials. If you haven't subscribed, and so you subscribe so as to promote